So the strange thing is, in English language, disruption is a bad word, right? When you say, don't come under the disruptive influence of somebody, you're actually saying that's one hell of a bad dude, steer clear of him. Which is very funny because in entrepreneurship, disruption is almost a gospel. As an entrepreneur, as a marketeer, as a product manager, you're not worth your salt if you don't have that disruptive capability within you. Am I right? Look at some of the examples I've got here. Can you even believe for a moment that the telephone instrument that you see here has taken over your life today? Is it even possible to conceive such an evolution? Look at the way, and I'm sure when the telephone was invented, its inventor not for a minute assumed that it had a role larger than maybe, just one-on-one conversation. I don't think anybody even ever imagined. And in my generation growing up in India, to get a landline connection, you had to wait for 8 years. And in today's context, when you pick up a SIM card and by the time you come home, if it isn't activated, what do you do? Ma behan gali doge na? So look at the evolution, it's absolutely amazing, disruptive to the core. What's the next product I have here? What's the picture? Electricity? Can you imagine, can you even conceive of a life without electricity? Hugely disruptive. What's the third one? iTunes, right? So it's again very strange. Who invented the world's first transistor? Who invented the radio before transistor? Who invented the radio? Which company? Which company? I am not going to do all the talking. Not for a minute assume that you're going to just sit and look at my face. Not at all. This is a two-way conversation, so it better be like that. Who invented the radio? Marconi, but which company invented it? Which company had the rights to it? No. You're on the wrong continent altogether. Sony had the rights to it. From a radio, why did Sony move to a transistor? More demand? No. Why from a big fellow to a small fellow? What was the logic? Portability. Why was portability important? It was, no, of course not. Don't use jargons. Use your bloody common sense. Use your brain. Why was portability important? Because it was post-Second World War. People wanted the war news. You had to sit in one place to listen to the radio. So having a transistor meant you could listen to the news on the go. Who invented Walkman? Sony again. Why? So you could carry your music wherever you went. So why didn't Sony invent the iPod? Wasn't it a natural progression? Up until that point, Sony was disrupting the way you thought, disrupting the way you consumed, disrupting the way you went about your life. And suddenly, an upstart from nowhere, who was not in the music space, who was not in the entertainment industry, invented iTunes. How did iTunes come about? Largely because of the technology revolution of what? What made iTunes possible? I thought all of you are geeks here. No? Give me the specific thing. What technology made iTunes possible? Guys, go commit suicide. Seriously. What's wrong? MP3 format, no? That's what made iTunes possible. And when MP3 format happened, all the big guys, the Sonys, the Panasonics, everybody laughed and said, this is only a passing fad. People will never continue with it, therefore people will come back to buying cassettes and CDs and what have you from us. Did that happen? Do you buy music today? How many of you are still idiotic enough to buy music? Nobody, right? And it was made possible by one disruptive technology. And it was made possible because that disruptive technology came to a hugely disruptive organization called Apple, and you have iTunes today, right? Go to the last one, Airbnb. I'll come to the next picture in a minute. The last one. How did Airbnb disrupt? Can somebody pass a hand mic here, please? I can't hear otherwise. Or why don't you switch on? What did Airbnb do to disrupt the market, to even qualify to be present on this slide?
Centralization of availability.
No. What in hospitality? Innappa, oru general term use pandre. What in hospitality? Okay. No, wrong. All that happened much later. What did Airbnb start as?
They took away the complexity of, they provided trust. The booking, the checking of rooms, everything is now done by Airbnb.
I know this is being live streamed, but I will still swear, and that is a bullshit answer.
They started giving rooms for cheap.
No. How did it start? You guys don't read, kya? How did Airbnb start? What was the concept?
The concept was in San Francisco, there was a tech conference, another conference, and these two blokes had an extra room to spare. So they just thought, all the hotels are getting filled up, so why don't they just get an air mattress?
Absolutely. It started as an overnight. Why is it called Airbnb? Air. So Airbnb is what? Air bed and breakfast means what? So all they would provide was an air mattress to bed down for the night. Maybe breakfast thrown in, need not necessarily be. If you came to Trivandrum for a conference, and if all the hotels are occupied and there is no room for you, you could use an Airbnb accommodation, which means you could just get an air mattress and maybe may not be a breakfast thrown in the next morning. You attended the conference and then you went home. From that, how did Airbnb become the largest hospitality player today?
They used a very innovative hack, which was basically Craigslist. I think about 6 or 7 companies hacked the information on Craigslist. So if you were posting an ad on Craigslist, they would send you an automated emailer saying that there's another 200,000 people who put a similar ad on Airbnb. So that was a very simple growth hack that they used.
One is the growth hack, but I think what was the larger disruptive concept? That why does this have to be restricted only to events? There are a number of people, today you're all familiar with the concept of empty nester, right? Who is an empty nester? You build a large house because you have, let's say, 2 kids, so that is 4 of you living in the house. Children go away to study, to get married, or move into another city, and it's just the 2 of you, husband and wife, and you have a large accommodation, not being used at all. So it became easy to say, you know what? It will be nice if I could have a lodger for 1 day, 2 days, maximum 3 days. Was that all? Was that all the disruption? Was it just about space? Did Airbnb succeed because you could get an overnight space cheap? It was the local experience. Many of us have felt, right? When we go to another city, you want to know what is the local cuisine, which is the restaurant best, that serves the local cuisine. And more important, I mean, at least women find it, when we go to a new city and we don't have somebody local to help us, we want to know everything about shopping in that area. Which is the best place to go? Where do you get the best bargain? What kind of shopping can I do? And Airbnb disrupted all of that. It wasn't just hospitality. It wasn't just overnight room. It wasn't just about it being cheap. It was the local flavor. And if you see the Airbnb ads on TV, what is their tagline? No, I think it's the other way. Don't just live there, feel there. Is it? What does live there mean? Breathe the air like a local. Don't be just a tourist. Breathe the air like a local. What is this product? The one next to Airbnb, one sandwiched between iTunes and Airbnb. Segway? What does Segway mean? What is it? It's not an automatic scooter. Balancing, yeah. You can go forward or backward and control. What is it? It's a plaything, it's a transport, what is it? It's a personal transporter. When Dean Carman invented it, he thought it was hugely disruptive. Carman was actually extremely well networked. So he created a huge buzz that this is going to disrupt the entire transportation market. He used a famous phrase. He said, cities need buses or cars as much as fish need bicycles, which means not at all. Logic is cities don't need. It's the ruin of a city if you have a public transport like a bus or a private transport like a car. On the other hand, Segway is going to do the trick. Okay? Huge buzz was created around it. What happened? How did the word Segway come? You know the English phrase segue, S-E-G-U-E? Segue means, it's a media word. Segue means smooth transition. From one frame to another in a movie, you transit very, very smoothly. That's called segueing. He used the same because he thought from whatever transport you were using up until this point in time, this could be a smooth, seamless transition. Did it happen? No, it didn't. So the point I'm trying to make with this example is, you may have the world's most brilliant product. Any guesses why the product didn't do well? It was supposed to be a personal transporter. It had computers, it had sensor, it had electric motor, it was easy to use, it could go up to 12.5 kilometer speed. It had everything going for it, yet it failed miserably. Any idea why? $5,000 a piece, obviously didn't work. So when you disrupt, you're not just disrupting by way of the customer, you have to disrupt by way of the entire ecosystem. It has to mean something to every single stakeholder involved in it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be called disruption at all. Sorry, you have a question? Yeah, go ahead. Which one? Segway? Segway actually, I think you have combinations of both. There are some serendipitously that become hugely disruptive. There are some that are the entrepreneur consciously sets out saying, I'm going to, ulat-palat the market. Okay, I think you have combinations and there are dime a dozen examples of both. In the case of Segway, it was conscious disruption. He hated public transport, private transport, and what it did to the cities. And because by definition he was an inventor, he had huge number of patents. Because of that, he felt that this was a product that would hugely gain currency in all parts of the world. And today, if you see, barring a few cities in Europe, You hardly see Segway anywhere else at all. So a good product got killed by bad positioning, by bad pricing, and I think by not taking into account local cultural preferences. In India, you could never use a Segway. Am I right? I mean, you could possibly use in your apartment complex, but you would never be able to go onto the road. Okay? So to answer your question, I think it could be both. Okay, this thing is hanging again. It doesn't like my presentation. Can you call somebody? This is a huge disruption. And this is disruption in the English language sense of the term. Can one of you please hang around here? Because this laptop seems to listen only to you. Hung. Thank you. What am I supposed to do? That'll work? Okay, give me this then. So in the previous slide, I said disruption is a new way of doing things. Doing the same thing that you used to do, that you were used to doing, but you will do it in an altogether new way. Like earlier, before internet and email and everything, how did you write letters? You wrote a physical letter. You wrote an inland letter if you wanted it confidential. You wrote on a postcard if it wasn't confidential. You wrote on an, overseas, what was it called? Airmail, if you needed to send it out of India, right? You're doing the same thing with the email, right? Are you doing anything different? Are you doing anything different except that you're not using a physical piece of paper? The process is the same. The intent is the same to communicate, to write a letter, to say something that you have in your mind. So it's just a different way of doing things. It's just a new way of doing things. So now the next question is, why should anybody do it in a new way at all? What's the big logic in doing the same thing in a new way? And the answer is very simple, because it makes you happy. Does it make you happy because by the time you hit send, you get a reply? Does it make you happy? Convenient? You can write to anybody without whatever gestation. It's fast, obviously, and it is smart. Doesn't consume a lot of resources. And more importantly, and this is where behavior disruption is very, very critical, if everybody else is doing it and you don't do it, you look like a bloody lemon. Am I right? Peer pressure, I think, works way better for these things. Everybody, the whole world is doing it. And if you are not doing it, if you are still stuck in a time warp, right, you will start to look like a lemon, and none of us ever want to look like a lemon. What's the best example you can take for this? Low-cost airlines? Air Deccan? We all remember Air Deccan, right? What was the big thing about Air Deccan? It wasn't just about it was a low-cost airline. What was the big thing about it? Have you seen Captain Gopinath's interviews? Absolutely. Absolutely. If you have seen some of his interviews, one of the things he took a lot of pride in saying was, fisher women from Mangalore once a week used to bring their produce on his airline, come to Bangalore, sell, and go back the same day. Is that disruption? Fisher women traveled by air before? Did they even conceive, did they even imagine one day they would travel by air, number one. Number two, to sell fish in a location which is 400 kilometers away. and then come back the same evening? You understand why did they do it? One, because the price point was 500 bucks per ticket. What was the bigger reason? Larger market with much better prices, which means even my 1,000 rupees air ticket up and down was well covered by the prices that I managed to get for the fish in Bangalore. So it made sense? It made economic sense? You understand, this is what I mean. So it's not just about disrupting one small portion of the market. It's about disrupting your whole way of thinking, your whole way of doing things, living your life. Let's hope this works now. Okay. It does. So who disrupts? Who is this person who has to disrupt? Because most of our attitude is we will only crib about the problems. We expect somebody else to fix the problem. Am I right? How many of you are entrepreneurs here? So that explains what I just said. Everyone else is waiting around for somebody else to fix the problem. Am I right? So who disrupts? Whose responsibility is it to disrupt? What happened? You want me to do all the talking? Is that what you're used to? I'm a teacher, so I'm not used to being the only one to talk. I'm used to participation. Because don't forget, my energy comes from you. If you all look like dead fish like this, I will also die in a few minutes. You want me to die? At least that say loudly, no? Who disrupts? Huh? Who is this anyone? It's the entrepreneur who disrupts. Who has a burning desire. Why does he have this burning desire? Why? Because he's a bloody selfish creature. He is saying, I don't like the way my world is. I want to change it. I want to change it also because I have the power to change it. I'm Superman. Who is this character? He's not Superman. Who is this character? Prometheus? Absolutely. What did Prometheus do? Stole fire from the fire gods. That was his level of audacity. He stole fire from the fire gods because he said it is going to benefit mankind, right? So the entrepreneur is saying, I'm not going to keep quiet. I have the education. I have the wherewithal. I am going to disrupt. I am going to change the way the rest of the world operates. And that's the only reason why you see Prometheus. Every entrepreneur to my mind is a Prometheus who disrupts the world. So what are you disrupting? We're using the word constantly, disrupt, disrupt, disrupt. What are you disrupting? But simple thing, LCD is what? Yes, you're disrupting the market. Yes. So what are you LCD, lowest common denominator is what? What are you disrupting? End of the day, you're disrupting human behavior. In terms of what? In terms of the behavior. What are you trying to change? You're trying to change a habit. You're trying to change human behavior. Am I right? Look at Instagram. What did Instagram do? What did Instagram do? How was it different from the Flickrs of the world? No. What was the difference between Instagram and Flickr? Why did Facebook pay 1 billion for Instagram? Is it only instant sharing or was there something else? Location-based instant sharing of photographs. Flickr was an album. Instagram was sharing your life on the go. Did it disrupt behavior? So what did you do when you had Flickr? You took pictures, then you went back home, then you sat on Flickr, then you created an album, then you shared it with friends. And then you wrote legends beneath each of them saying, you know, this was taken when I was at base camp, this was taken when I first sighted Everest, this was taken when I fell down, look at the injury on my hand. Post-event, you put a legend and you shared the album. In Instagram, what is happening? Hey, I fell down. See the wound? I can even show exactly where I fell down, how I fell down. Did it disrupt your behavior? What happened now? Now you started sharing real time. Am I right? As events happened, you took pictures and you started sharing real time. Did you change your behavior? Now you didn't have to wait till the end of the day, till you got back to a laptop, a computer, or whatever. You could take pictures instantly on your smartphone. You could share them with wherever you were, whatever the event was, everything could happen absolutely real time. How do you disrupt behavior? Sounds simple when I give you these examples. So how do you actually disrupt behavior? I think I need to come down. If I stand here, you people are not going to talk. Why have I put this feather on? What's the problem? What's the feather there for? How do you disrupt behavior? And I'm showing you a feather. No? No one has heard of the feather principle? No product managers here? No? The feather principle is, give me commonsensical explanation. What is a feather principle? What is a feather? What is that one quality about feather? It's light. So by and large, when you develop products, what are you told? Don't complicate. Am I right? When you develop products, you're told, keep the product as simple as you can. As light as you can. Light in terms of what? In the amount of resources you consume, particularly in V 1.0. Am I right? In the first version, nobody expects you to feature load it. Go with a simple V 1.0, test the waters in the market, and then V 2.0 onwards, you can start loading additional features. Am I right? So the feather principle tells you keep the product simple, keep the resource consumption, asset consumption absolutely light. That's what the feather principle tells you, right? So how do you do this? How, by keeping it light, can you disrupt behavior? Let me share a very interesting story. Anybody here who's been to Vegas and gone to the casino? Right. So what's the layout of the casino, of these slot machines? You find, and they're all stacked one next to the other. There's no space at all except the space to go sit in front of each of the machine. Do you think this design, the way the layout is deliberate, or do you think it is accidental? It is super, super, super deliberate, and you will understand what I mean in a moment. Also, what is never known to you is the washrooms are very, very far. On each of the floors, if there are 10 floors of slot machines, on each of the floors, the washroom is really very far. Why? They don't want you to interrupt play even to go to the loo. Done purely by design. Why? Why would they be so cruel? Because the more you play, the more you are hooked on to it. The moment you take a break, it breaks your rhythm. And if it breaks your rhythm, chances are sanity will prevail and say, Bacha, ghar jao. Bahut ho gaya aaj. You've lost your shirt. Bloody shit, go home. They don't want that to happen. So the washrooms are really, really far. And you know how customers have learned to deal with this? The frightening part of the story is normal, otherwise sensible people come on Friday morning wearing diapers so that till Monday morning they don't have to vacate their slot machines even to go to the loo. It's a diabolical scenario. It's an absolute Hitchcockian scenario. But the fact remains, this is the reason, by sheer design, the slot machine owners, the casino owners make sure that your behavior is disrupted. Would you, sir, normally wear a diaper? You wouldn't be caught dead in one, right? How do they manage to get you to wear a diaper? How do they manage to get a 25-year-old, absolutely conscious, very hep chick who is in middle management in a large organization, who is otherwise absolutely sensible, how do they get her to wear a diaper on Friday morning and not change that diaper till Monday morning? How do they do it? Absolutely by sheer design. We said you can disrupt behavior, right? So what can you disrupt in behavior? You can disrupt by creating a need. Yeah? Polaroid camera. You all remember who created the Polaroid? Sorry? No. In fact, somebody in Kodak did develop it. They put it aside saying nobody's going to use it. So there was this character called Edwin Land, who is newly divorced. Edwin Land, like Dean Kamen, was a brilliant inventor. He was recently divorced and his wife had the custody of his 5-year-old daughter. But he had her every weekend. Saturday and Sunday he had her. He used to take her outside the city to a resort and they would spend quality time. And he would carry his camera with him. And he would take pictures, and after every picture, she would jump up and down and say, I want to see the picture, show me the picture. And every time he said, baby, I can't show you the picture. This is a film. Only after all 36 are exposed can I give it for developing and printing. Maybe by the end of the month, I can show you the picture. And she kept thumping the table and saying, why can't I see it now? At some point, Edwin Land said, she's right. Why can't we see the picture instantaneously? It took him 25 years to develop the Polaroid from then on, from that minute on. And it took less than 5 years to move from Polaroid to digital. That's been the evolution of disruption here. Consumption occasions. Colgate, I don't know how many of you have used this. Colgate Wisp. So typically what happens when you're out morning till evening? You carry your toothpaste with you? If you're sitting in an AC room all day, believe you me, if you don't use a toothpaste after lunch, your neighbors are going to complain, right? So here was Wisp, which was a one-time use brush and a one-time use toothpaste. In other words, portability. So now what happened? Because this toothpaste was available, toothpaste and brush were available, even though normally you never had the habit of brushing after lunch, because this product is available, you will make sure you brush after lunch or you brush after being in a meeting. So there is no limit to the number of times you brush. It's disrupted your behavior. Earlier your behavior was only when you woke up in the morning, hopefully then you brushed your teeth. There were some people who brushed their teeth in the morning and before going to bed at night. Rarely anybody brushed in between. And here was a product that made brushing absolutely as many times as you want in the day possible. That's how it disrupted your behavior. Consumption patterns, oh good God. This was the only thing that was working. Consumption patterns, Kindle is a good example. Am I right? Earlier, how did you read? When did you read? Think. Iska ye cover kahan hai? This didn't have a cover? Or did it break? No, it's not here. When did you read a book earlier? When you traveled and you're an avid book reader, let's say you were traveling for 15 days, you carried 15 books with you? Now what did Kindle do? How many of you use Kindle? Why? Sheer convenience, right? Sheer convenience of what? Of reading only? Is that the only convenience? Isn't the convenience about accessing books too? You're reading somewhere, you see a book review, immediately you pick up your Kindle, you check whether the Kindle edition is available, you buy it immediately, right? So it's not just the convenience of reading, but convenience of access and retrieval itself. So it's changed the way you read books. Oh, it went to the next one, is it? Yeah, okay. So I've called this a behavior prex. I said this earlier, it's not just, disruption is not just about changing one small behavior pattern, it's about disrupting the whole ecosystem. So let me give you a nice example to make you understand this. So there was a guy in Bombay who was a fruit seller. His son was very young. After school, son would also go meet the dad. And both of them together had fruits in a thela and they used to sell the fruits. The son obviously grew up around fruits, right? When he grew up, it occurred to him, why not use these fresh fruits to make an ice cream? He tried. It didn't work because fruits die. Fruit has an expiry period. So you can't put fresh fruits into the ice cream. So somebody told him, you can use fresh fruits if you use a preservative. He said, no, I don't want to use a preservative at all. I want it to be completely natural. So he tried for several years trying to use the fresh fruit in ice cream without preservative. He succeeded one day. So he told people, when people came to buy fruits, he told them, why don't you buy my ice cream? What did people say? No, I don't think I believe you. I don't think it's possible to make fresh fruit ice cream without preservative. So I don't want to buy. He tried telling a lot of people. Nobody believed. So what did he do? Anybody? He started selling vada pav. Vada pav in Bombay, you know, is what people eat. So he said, if I start selling vada pav on my thela, people will come. So they would eat vada pav, and when they came to pay, he would give them a small cup of ice cream absolutely free. And he would tell them, try this, I have made this, you don't have to pay for it, try it. So did they try it? Free. Did they like it? Absolutely. He kept this up for 6 months. Do you know what his logic was? Every time somebody came, asked for vada pav, they got an ice cream free. And he didn't stop giving ice cream free for the next 6 months, his logic, I will continue to give it free till one day my first customer walks in saying, I want the ice cream and I want to pay for it. Behavior disrupted. Look at all the three things. Motivation. Yeah, they were motivated to come and ask for the ice cream. They had the ability to pay for it. And they had the trigger. What was the trigger? That almost for the past 6 months, they have been eating it absolutely free. This convergence is what I call the behavior plex. That is what the true essence of all disruption. That it disrupts in such a way, it creates a whole new ecosystem. Nobody can make you change your behavior if you don't want to. Am I right? Initially, whenever somebody attempts to change your behavior, there is huge resistance, isn't it? But the best thing is the last point. You make all other available products so obsolete that they have no option but to buy your product. Prestige pressure cooker is a good example of what I'm talking about. Look at all of this. How were people used to cooking before prestige cooker? Then there came a time when they saw others improved behavior. The neighbor said, you know what, my husband gifted it to me for our wedding anniversary and it's so convenient, I can put everything and it cooks so fast. Suddenly it became lonely. The whole world is using prestige pressure cooker. I'm the only one who seems to be an idiot. It's a lonesome journey for me. And of course, all other options have become absolutely obsolete. Why should you disrupt? Have you seen Dove ads on YouTube? What is so unusual about Dove ads? Unlike, let's say, Lux. Okay, can I ask a simple question? Are you all from another planet? Because nobody seems to be living on this earth. Huh? Sorry? Is this earth? Ah, now he's asking a fundamental question. In what way is Dove ads different from all other products, all other? Please check on YouTube a campaign that they run called Get Back Your Self-Esteem. It's got nothing to do with, as he said, soap. So they did, unlike Lux, which uses celebrity models, Dove uses ordinary women like you and me. And the whole attempt is to say beauty is not about defined parameters. Beauty is about how beautiful you feel inside, which was a huge disruption, which was an amazing way of making women look at themselves, look at their self-esteem, look how comfortable they were or they were not in their own skin. What is category ownership? So obviously you need to disrupt to get mind share, right? What is mind share? Or I shouldn't ask. What is mind share? Once upon a time you spoke of market share, right? Market share assumes that the market is static. Mind share assumes that you can actually disrupt and make the market grow. That is why it is not static, right? So what is category ownership? Okay, I think I will stop asking you. Decathlon, at least you know what decathlon is. What is it? It's not sports goods. That's wrong. Huh? What? So give me a category name for it, no? Thank you. It is everything to do with outdoor apparel, equipment, you name it, they have it. They are a category owner. Which is the largest in the world? Category ownership? No way. A very, very premium brand. What does embrace the suck mean? It's a military term. I shouldn't ask you, sorry, I forgot. Embrace the suck mean, it's a military term. It means that shit happens. Nothing in life is ideal. You better learn to deal with it. So how do you deal with it? That is when you look at disrupting behavior. So Patagonia, which is the world's largest company in outdoor apparel and equipment, absolutely premium brand. One of the major, what should I say, peeves of the founder of Patagonia used to be that if you travel to the Everest or any other mountain, if you climb any mountain in any part of the world, one of the things you will see is that the climbers have strewn soda bottle caps all along the way. And soda bottle caps are not degradable, are not biodegradable. So most of them have ruined the mountain faces. So he always used to rally about it. He used to rave and rant about it in every meeting saying, climbers can't be doing this. Then one day he decided, embrace the suck. This is not going to change, right? Life is not ideal. Let me do something with it. So what did he do? He rounded up all the soda bottle caps from all the mountains. He recycled them. And he created the world's lightest wind cheaters. Those of you who are into climbing know that when you are at, 21,000, 22,000 feet, it's incredibly cold, and not just cold, it is incredibly windy. So you have to wear heavy jackets. But it's very hard to wear heavy jackets because you've got a lot of equipment, including oxygen cylinder that you're carrying on your back. So you want a light jacket. So Patagonia created the world's lightest wind cheater, made from recycled soda bottle caps. You understand? So embrace the suck. What's the point complaining? Shit happens. So let me do something with that shit, something more useful with that shit. Most people assume that you have to disrupt only in the startup phase, when you are just taking a product to market. Be aware that that's the biggest myth. That's the biggest stupidity. You have to disrupt in the startup phase. You have to disrupt when you're a mature company. You have to disrupt when you're a fully grown company. In other words, you have to disrupt till you die or your company dies. There is no getting away from that. Converse, you familiar with Converse? What's the unique thing about Converse? Huh? Sneakers. They were the first. They were actually in rubber shoes. From that they moved to sneakers. And it became a sports shoe when they had Chuck Taylor. Chuck Taylor, who was an all-star basketballer, walked into Converse office one day saying, whatever shoes that are available in the market today, they hurt my feet. So can you make something for me which does not hurt my feet? So he became their salesman and their brand ambassador. And the shoes were designed for him. And if you see the all-star logo, Converse became. So the interesting thing about Converse, Converse was the founder's name. His name was Marquis Mills Converse. The interesting thing about him was, like IKEA, he said, why should good design cost a bomb? I will give the world's best shoe, but not at premium prices. So till Nike acquired Converse, shoes were extremely affordable. Once Nike acquired them, that went out of the window. Disruption, yeah. Even in the emerging stage, right? How many of you are familiar with this brand, Local? No? You're familiar with the brand Sugar Free? Right? Because Sanjeev Kapoor advertises for that. Local is exactly like Sugar Free, except that Sugar Free is not sugar free, and Local is. Local is made from a plant called stevia, and when they say it is sugar free, it is actually 99.99% sugar-free. But Local also, because they came in after sugar-free, Local did everything that sugar-free did. Who owns sugar-free, by the way? Which company? Sorry for asking. Cadila. So, Local did everything that Cadila did. Positioned the product also towards diabetics. Okay, and eventually discovered that the product is so hugely disruptive, not just because it is stevia based, natural, absolutely sugar free, but also in the way you consume it. So today you can buy Local as a stirrer. When you buy sachets, what happens typically? You open the sachet, while you're opening it, a lot of it spills, right? And you don't know how much, whether you need the whole sachet or you need to use only half the sachet. Now you are getting Local in stirrers. So the capillary action of putting the stirrer into your coffee releases as much sugar as you want. So it's not just that it is completely natural, it's herbal based, it is sugar free. Now it's made your life far easier, disrupted the way you've used sugar in the past, in the way you actually consume it. And in the enterprise stage, how many of you remember Rasna? What was Rasna's value proposition? What was their tagline? I love you, Rasna. And why was it so successful? So the strange part is that was one of the first ads that used a cute, chubby girl. And the strange part is they focused on how many glasses you can make per packet. So there was economy there. So there was price sensitivity there. 32 glasses from one packet is what they advertised. So which means for a price conscious housewife, if they had to celebrate the daughter's birthday at home, Rasna was the go-to product. Now the interesting thing here is it's not just the price sensitive housewife who bought Rasna. It was even this very, very high profile page 3 woman who bought Rasna for her daughter's birthday. It cut across segments. Why? Because there was something emotional about that child, the way she said, I love you, Rasna, and the way it connected with the audience. For years, Rasna did everything by the book. They were an absolutely go-to brand. They launched a number of new flavors. They had everything going for them. Where is Rasna today? So sometimes good management is the enemy of disruption. Sometimes it's good to be disruptive in your thinking, to be contrarian in your thinking, not follow the rules of the game. They followed everything by the book and then suddenly lost the script. Now they are trying to come back. Now they've launched a health drink. They are getting into healthy snacks space. They are looking at reinventing themselves. But the fact remains, Rasna as the brand you knew died a very long time ago. Why are you the chosen one to disrupt? Not you guys, not at all. Not one bloody entrepreneurial bone here. Why are you expected to disrupt? I do believe that we don't understand the power we have. And you guys are lucky because your parents have given you access to education. And taking that access to education, you've all gotten into a comfort zone where you want your silly paycheck at the end of the month. Am I right? You're getting used to the wrong things. You're getting used to plastic cards. You're getting used to EMIs. And in the process, you're forgetting to be selfish. In the process, you're forgetting the fact that you are different. And if you don't disrupt, you have no right to expect a good quality life. You can go on cribbing that I live in a bad world. Oh, I live in Bangalore. Traffic is so horrible. You can go on cribbing till cows come home. Nothing is going to change. My recommendation to you, disrupt yourself first. Disrupt that brain of yours first. Say, I don't need this paycheck at the end of the month. That I'm going to change the world simply because I have the capability of changing. Yeah, but do you do everything that your management asks you to do? No, no. Absolutely. Good for you. Forget negotiation. There are times when you snub her, right? This is a time to snub her. Thank you. Questions? Now you can ask me questions. At least I hope you can ask me questions now. Yeah.
So in some cases, the first disruptor gets killed. Like in the case of Airbnb.
Yeah.
Airbnb was not the first disruptor.
No.
Couch surfing, for a fact, had a great community, a great model, but they just didn't figure out that actually you could make money out of it.
Right.
Then they went on to raise $10 million later. In so many cases, we see disruptors being great, but they don't reap the economic benefits. So how do you?
The reason for that, that's a good question. The reason for that, most disruptors are product developers. Am I right? Most of them came with the idea of a disruptive product. And most of them are idiotic for two reasons. One, they never thought they needed to make money from that product. Two, they thought they have such a damn good product that if they just put it out in the marketplace, line lag jayega. Neither will happen. I look at least 60 business plans a week, okay? Many of them, say 90% are cut-paste ideas. 10% are, let's say, culturally loaded, culturally relevant. But when I ask, paisa kidhar se aayega? Where are you making money from? No, I have no plans of making money. Then bloody sit at home, no. Why even disrupt? Come up with a disruptive product. If you don't have plans for at least 5 different ways of making money with your product, sit at home, don't even bother. Because it's not going to go anywhere. That is the reason. Commercial sense, and also there is a little bit of an attitude, oh, that I'm an inventor. I am made for higher things. Don't ask me these base things like paisa kidhar se aayega. So there is this moral high road that inventors take, that I will talk about my disruptive product, but please don't debase it by asking how am I making money from it. I have no intention of making money from it, which is rubbish. If you have no intention of making money, you will die. Your product's going to die. And even if you have the world's best product, unless you package it, unless you sell it, unless you communicate its value proposition to your customer, unless you do your customer profiling correctly, your company is going to die. All of you are familiar with the statistic, right? That most startups, 99% of the startups, 90+% of startups die in the first year of operation. Why do you think they die? If you ask the entrepreneur why he had to close down, the answer typically is, oh, my customer was an idiot. He didn't know a good thing. Oh, you know, that fellow said he'll give me money, he backed out in the last minute. He will never say, I did the wrong things. Right? So the one single most reason for startups dying in the very first year of operation is because they have no known source of monetization at all. So if you don't have a way of milking your product, why do you expect somebody to invest in your business? Anything else? No?
Ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for that wonderful session.
Oh, no questions.
Sorry, we have no time restrictions, so no more questions.
They made me waste a lot of time looking at their faces when they didn't answer. Shame on you guys. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am. I request Reja Rahim from FAYA to present our token of gratitude to Professor Nandini Vaidyanathan.
You're not giving me back my book, no?
Thank you so much. Moving on, we have Mr. Ramabrahma Maleti from his session on UX at the Age of Disruption, co-founder and director of Experience Designs of Think Design Collaborative. Mr. Ramabrahma Maleti leads a team of over 90 designers and has implemented over 200 UX projects in multiple domains. An alumni of the prestigious